Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk with Tammy, brought to you by BKNI Resources. BKNI Resources is a consulting company that works with individual businesses, schools, and organizations, and they have 10-year long track record in conducting seminars, workshops, and individual services on personal branding and appearances. So, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, the show features interesting personalities from all walks of life sharing profound insights into relevant topics. I'm Tammy, your host, and this show has always been about sharing my personal journey with you while I'm learning about anything that piques my interest. So I know we started off season three with a pretty heavy topic, so I thought, okay, we should probably go on a lighter note. So for that, and as you have seen on the promo, it's about solo trips, and I thought, okay, let's bring back my friend Ray for this show. So let's bring him in first. Hello, Ray.
Hi.
Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back. How are you?
I'm good. Always a pleasure. Just a little bit sad that I'm actually using this platform to talk to you again because it's been a while.
I know, right? I think we should definitely go and hang out again. Hey, maybe we can even travel. Or that
Yeah,
wouldn't be a solo
yeah,
trip.
that is true. That is
Yeah.
true. So yeah, the reason why I picked Raymond to join us for this show is because, oh my God, as long as I've known him, he has been one of those person who just goes on the spur of the moment. Sometimes just decided to pack and leave, right? And I remember, well, the funny thing was, remember how you were stuck in Redang, was it? During MCO, when MCO was first announced?
Well, it was Lang Tengah,
Lang Tengah,
and yes. So what happened was that I already bought tickets for this trip, and during that time, it was the start of COVID.
right?
And
Okay.
what was funny was that I had this fear because the day when I arrived at Kuala Terengganu, because that's a gateway to Lang Tengah,
Mm-hmm.
um, the news came out saying that lockdown is gonna happen in the next few days, and I was semi panicking, but at the same time, I was entertaining the thought that, hey, maybe working on a beach for a few months wasn't so bad.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yes. So, in terms of spontaneity, yes, you're right in the sense that I can be a little bit spontaneous, but at the same time, it's not to say that I don't plan for my solo trip, which I will talk about it more in a bit.
Mm.
Because yes, spontaneous trips are fun, but at the same time, it can be a little bit costly, and costly in the sense of the amount that you spend, as well as the things that you get to see, or rather, you won't get to see because if you
Mm.
don't plan it well, you
Yep.
wouldn't know what you miss, or you will miss the things that you really wanted to see in the area.
Right, right, right. Okay, so I think I want to start with why do you do solo trips? Like, is it really that enjoyable? Because usually, when most of the time when we do things, we tend to do it with someone because we want to share that experience with someone,
Yes.
right? I mean, a lot of people have a hard time to even go to the movies alone or have lunch by themselves alone. So, why solo trips?
Well, fun fact, or rather, let's rewind back to my history. It
Mm-hmm.
was about 7, 8 years ago. Um, I was attached, but my partner did not want to. During that time, my partner did not really want to join me on a trip. So
Mm.
it was, and I just started my new job, and I have enough earning power to go on a trip, and I really want to go to Cambodia, Siem Reap
Okay.
specifically, because that's
Mm-hmm.
where Angkor archaeology region is, where
Yep.
you get to see all this Angkor Wat or all those ancient buildings that they have in there. So it
Mm-hmm.
is one of my dreams to always go there and have a look. However, because of the situation back then, I would reluctantly go on the solo trip on my own.
Okay.
It wasn't supposed to be a solo trip. It was supposed to be with my partner. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I because I really want to go,
Mm-hmm.
then I end up going alone. So at first, I would say it's a bit nerve wracking because you're
Right.
going to this unknown land, country, and nobody speaks the language that you speak.
Mm.
It can be very nerve wracking. I was actually very nervous. Like, am I gonna die? Is this my like? this is my swan song. Like, so, um, with that said, I did some read up on the country or specifically the city, and it was actually considered one of the safer cities in Southeast Asia.
Right.
And yes, it's just that the country is a little bit poor uh,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of their social economy status, but the country was relatively safe, and that gave me some reassurance. And true enough, when I went there, I really enjoyed the trip. I just wish it was a little bit longer.
Okay. Okay. So if it's your, I mean, you have traveled before, right? So solo trip would be the first thing that you did. I mean, that experience would have been the first time you went on a solo trip. But if
Yep.
someone has not traveled at all before,
Mhm.
do you think it's a good idea for their first travel experience to be a solo trip?
Okay, so that said, so when you talk about travel, do you
Mm.
include domestic travel? Like in Malaysia, we are
Yeah.
going to Penang or
Yes.
Malacca.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I would say because my first travel was, of course, with family,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not that I'm unfamiliar with how the airport or system works or how to use the bus. So I'm very clear on that. Now, for a person who has never traveled at all, I would say the person has to be very independent and very resourceful in order to do a solo trip as their first trip.
Right.
Otherwise, I really wouldn't recommend it
Mm-hmm.
because you let's say you're going to the airport. You first thing first, you wouldn't know what time you need to be at the airport, or you wouldn't know where you need to go. You can't differentiate domestic flight or international flights. You can
Right.
look at the signs, but at the same time, it's so new to you. You don't know how
Mm.
the system works, so it's
Mm-hmm.
always best to bring along someone who has been on the trip, be it a family member or friends, so that they can kind of show you around. Okay, this is where you need to go. This is what you need to do. You need to check in at this place. Now, of course, if let's say the person has never done any trips before and never traveled before and now has
Right.
learning how to do so,
Mm-hmm.
yes, you can do so. I will also I mean, I would encourage, I will support if the person wants to do that. But I will say the person again has to be very resourceful,
Right.
meaning that the person needs to roughly know what to do, and in the event that there is an emergency, the person also know who to contact or um, what in that sort of situation they shouldn't panic. So yeah. And of course another thing is I really don't want to bring this in, but your sex, whether
Mm.
you're a woman and a man, the travel experience is also a little bit different.
Mm.
Most women would be a little bit hesitant to travel alone because unfortunately our world is a little bit misogynist.
Right.
Men, on the other hand, are they you feel much safer when you travel because you don't experience the things that women have experienced.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess that's a given.
Yeah.
So remember when you tell earlier that when you went to Siem Reap, Cambodia, that was your first unplanned, so to speak, solo travel.
I mean, it was planned.
It was
It's just that I
okay,
was planning with someone to go
right? So
with
it's
me.
yeah, unplanned solo travel, right? Basically, you
Yeah.
end up going
Yes.
traveling solo. So did it take some taking used to? Was it weird in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was weird. Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not I won't say weird, but it
Mm.
was unusual in a
Okay.
sense that okay, I'm checking in at the airport alone. I'm going on the plane alone, um, and I so when I arrive at the country, I have to take the tuk-tuk alone, their
Mm-hmm.
taxi. So it was all on my own. But as it goes along, I realize, okay, wow, I'm using my own pace. I don't have to wait for anyone, or rather, I can take my own time doing my own things. If I want to see, if I at the gift shop, I want to spend more time at the gift shop. No one's stopping me. I don't, and even if like I'm traveling with someone who wouldn't mind me spending more time doing something, there is that social pressure that okay, I gotta hurry up, otherwise this person
Right.
will wait for me. So as time passed, while I was in the city, I realized that okay, I enjoy doing things at my own pace and going to places that I want to go or I want to venture. Because
Mm.
another thing about going with someone is that you need to accommodate their needs as well.
Right.
Assuming that, let's say you go with your significant other or your friend. Now, this friend wants to go to a new city, but at the same time, what isn't so adventurous, trying new things or uh, going to places that can be a little bit um, can be perceived as a little bit dangerous. I don't want to say dangerous, but it's like it's not the touristy areas.
Right.
So the next thing you need to understand about me is that my personality is I'm a very adventurous person.
Mm.
I I like to try new things. I like to see new things, and in fact, I like to go to places that a lot of people would think it's very hazardous. Okay, so what I did when I was on my first day there, I just left my bag in the hotel room. Like
Mhm.
literally, I just throw it, change my clothes, and I head out. I didn't even rest because some people will want to rest after their flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just took a map because I don't. Okay, so I actually don't have my smartphone back then, so I literally have a map, and I just walk around the city. And I went to their wet market. I went to the museum. I literally walk all around. So the next another thing about me is that instead of taking public transport when I'm in a new city, I actually
Mhm.
prefer to walk. Like I can
Mm.
walk 15 km if I want to. Just and at the same time, because to me everything there is new, and I like to see all these new things. Um,
Right.
it's like coming to KL for the first time. I can walk from Bukit Pindan, where Pavilion is, or the very touristy place, to all the way to KL Tower. And
Mm.
for those who are familiar with KL's map, it's quite far. But I'm willing to do those sort of things. Now, if I have another person with me, so first thing first, I need to consider the person's health. Can the person actually walk this far or like do all this adventurous thing? Because other things that I did was so I'm gonna share this later. When I was in Siam Reap, Cambodia, I actually eat insects or bugs.
Mm.
Yes. So that was quite. So when I say I'm adventurous, it's not just like going to places, but actually trying new things, like a palette full of bugs. Um,
Right.
so another person may not have that same interest, and thus will be very reluctant to try something like this. Which also then something I have to consider because I'm traveling as a pair or with with a group of people. They may not want to do the same thing as me. They may not want to walk an hour around the city, but rather just go to specific places via taxi.
Mm.
So so that's when I finally realized, okay, this is actually not that bad. I enjoy doing things at my own pace and doing the things that I wouldn't be able to do if I was with another person or in a group.
True, true. I mean, I have been with you for a couple of times, and I thought I am a fast walker. You walk way faster than me, and it takes me, it's very difficult to catch up with you, but I try.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a couple of viewers coming in already. So just wanted to say that if you have any comments or questions for Ray, please do leave them in the comments section. We are currently live on Facebook and YouTube, and I'll be sure to share them on screen for Ray to answer. So Ray, if have been telling this to you many, many times already, but I've yet to do it,
Hmm.
which is to go on a solo trip, where would you suggest me to go? I mean, let's say locally.
Malaysia, within
Yeah.
Malaysia.
Yeah.
Um, well, there's always Penang and Malacca.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
like the choices that people usually go for. But
Okay.
if you're talking about places that you have never been,
Mm.
Langkawi is a nice place to go
Mm-hmm.
because you have the beach, you have the mountain areas, and you have the very local food that you can try there.
Right.
The other recommendation is going towards the east coast of
Mm.
Semenanjung, Malaysia. So that's where all the islands are. So if you want to go on a more relaxing trip or more partying trip and maybe learn diving or snorkeling, then that is the islands will be very nice to go to. And okay, I wouldn't recommend 7 days. I would recommend at least 4 to 3 days just to
Mm-hmm.
go to the islands. You can. uh, on top of my mind, I would say Perhentian, Redan, and Tioman. Uh, these are because you don't just have the beach stuff; you also have the forest area that you can track.
Right.
Yes, and a lot of West Malaysian has never been to these two states, Sarawak and Sabah. Obviously, these two
Yeah.
you can do a local trip there. I mean,
Mhm.
as fellow Malaysians, because
Right.
the land it's overseas. You have to fly there, and you can just treat. And some you are somewhat because you have we have our own immigration system
Mm-hmm.
in Sarawak, so
Mm-hmm.
you are kind of treated like a foreigner. So you can pretend you're in a foreign country, and
Right.
it is foreign enough for you to feel like, okay, wow, this is the lifestyle is a little bit different there. Yeah, and you get to do things that may not necessarily be able to be done here. For
Mm-hmm.
example, in Kuching, Sarawak, we have an orangutan sanctuary, and
Mm-hmm.
orangutans are unique to certain parts of Indonesia as well as Borneo. You can't really find them in Semenanjung.
Yes, Ray is Sarawakian, by the way.
Yes.
So I have a question
Hmm.
from Raj. Would you meet new people on going on a solo trip, or is it just better to go for a change of scenery?
Okay. Now, I would say in total, I have been on 2 to 3
Mm-hmm.
solo trips overseas, like in a
Mm-hmm.
foreign country,
Mm-hmm.
and quite a number of local trips within Malaysia. With regards to would I meet new people? So this is another thing why I never actually feel alone when I'm doing solo trips because I meet so many new people. Okay. Um, So I'll talk about my second solo trip and well, 2.5. There's a reason why it's the 2.5 solo trip.
Okay.
Uh, when I was in Myanmar, I
Mm.
went there for almost a week. So what happened was that because I now that I have experience solo traveling, when I was in Myanmar, I what I did was I spent a bit more time in the country and I went to dormitories. Because when I was in Cambodia, I went to a proper hotel.
Mm.
I want comfort and I'm not too. I was actually afraid to go to dormitories because people may steal my things and I
Right.
carry expensive camera equipment. So when I was in Myanmar, I was a bit more bold and brave. So I say dormitories. I went from Yangon. If you know the map of Myanmar, which I will show you my slides later, I went from Yangon to Bagan and Bagan to Mandalay. So I stay in dormitories in all these places. And it was really, really nice to meet different people from different countries because the thing about people who stay in dormitories is that they have the same mindset.
Mm.
They we we enjoy the adventure, we enjoy the adrenaline rush, we enjoy meeting peoples that we have that we would never expect to meet. So in Bagan, Myanmar itself, I met a Italian, Indian from India, um, Americans, a lot of Europeans, Singaporeans, Taiwanese, Japanese. So it was, though the conversation was short, it was nice to learn about why they are there, what they're doing there, and because we have the same sort of mindset, so it was very easy to talk to them. So hence after a while, I don't feel alone in a solo trip.
Mm-hmm.
I because I meet so many people, I actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, change of scenery. That's what happened when that was me when I was doing local trips, because it was with how in the last 3 years we were kind of stuck within the country.
Right.
Thank God Malaysia has so many other places to visit. I was just so sick of looking at the same four walls of my room. So what I did was I went to Taman Negara alone, and the Lang Tengah trip was alone as well. But that was pre-COVID. What else did I do? I recently, not recently, earlier this year, I went to Pulau Tioman alone as well. And again, I meet so many people there because I stay in a dormitory.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I would say I like to meet new people, and at the same time, I will want to have a change of scenery because sometimes the city can become a little bit boring.
Okay. And when it comes to traveling, right? What is
Hmm,
your process? So let's say, for example, you have decided, okay, you have blocked your calendar. Okay, this date to this date, I'm going to go and travel. You've
yeah.
decided the place. I think maybe we should start from how you pick your place and what is your process
Okay.
until the day of your travel.
So Uh, the first step I would say
Mm,
is always choose the places that you really want to go.
mm,
Um, okay, so speaking from because I have limited budget, I have limited finances, so I can't just hop on the plane to go wherever I want. So I actually need to consider. So I would say step number one is choose the places that you want to go. Forget about the idea that I want to go to every country in the world. Some countries are really not worth going. I shall not name those countries, but
okay.
um, yeah, choose the one that is on top of your list. Like back then, Siam Reap was on top of my list because I like the ancient temples. Then comes Jogja, which was in Indonesia, and I actually Bali was not on my list
Mm,
earlier in the day because it was so touristy and it was so tourist centric that I actually push it to the back. So so choose the places that you want to go, like you really want to see.
mm,
Then number two, of course, budget. Do
yeah.
you have the money? And when I say do you have the money is don't I don't mean to take money out from your saving accounts like the ones that you use for rainy days. Never do that because uh, yes, I understand you only live once. You want to go YOLO like with life, but you need to understand your trip is not your trip will eventually end, and you have to come back to reality unless you're a traveler or you're paid to travel. So you need to really budget. For example, I really want to go to Peru one day, but I checked the flight ticket. It's like 10K Malaysian ringgit, and I'm like, that's at the bottom of my list right now. India, however, is quite reasonable. It's about 1K plus, and you can go to quite a number of cities. India's issue will be accommodation because if you want to stay in somewhere a little bit fancy or a little bit yeah, fancy. I will use the word fancy. You need the accommodation can be quite expensive. So these are the things that you need to consider when you do your travel because you don't want to burn your saving accounts or you don't want to burn your um, the money that you use for rainy days. Okay, so yeah, number two is budget. So choose a place, budget, and lastly, find out exactly in that city where do you want to go within or how do you want to travel within your budget, of course. So for me, when I was going to Myanmar, um, I chose three cities that I really want to go. Number
Mm,
one is Yangon, which is like yeah, a very famous city there. Um, and it's the city that's connected to a lot of Southeast Asian countries. Then Yangon itself, while it's nice, it's not my main destination. It's actually Bagan, where similar to Angkor Archaeology Park, it has a lot of all those ancient temples. So that is my main goal. So you need to now zoom in a little bit on where do you want to spend your time mostly on. As a, so the thing now, because right when you travel in a group, you need to
mm,
consider everyone's plan. Where do they,
yeah.
how they want to spend their time, and even if you want to split up, you eventually have to come back, like maybe have a dinner or two. So so that itself can be interfering with what you want to see. So when you're on your own, you can take all the time that you want to spend in a city or in a specific area without having feel like you have to rush to the next location.
Mm.
So yeah, so that would be choose the city, let's choose list out where you want to go, budget, and then specifically where do you want to go within those cities within your budget, and last but not least, of course, the enjoy the place.
Okay. So since you have quite a number of experience going to a couple of places
Hmm.
within and outside the country, right?
Yes,
If I were to ask you what are the cons of solo travel, would you say there are any?
they are definitely.
Okay.
So, for instance, e-hailing services.
Mm.
or taxis itself can be expensive if you travel alone. Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
so when I was in Tioman Island for my trip, what I failed to realize was that to, because there's a ferry that drop us off on the island. What I didn't know is that the island has so many places, so many jetties that you can't really walk from one end to the other. Okay,
Okay.
otherwise I would walk.
Mm.
Um, so you need water taxi. Now the problem with the water taxi is there's a minimum number of packs that would
Okay.
allow only before they take you out. So otherwise, you have to actually fork out the entire fee. So water taxi in Pulau Tiongmang was that if you notice, at first they say things like, "Oh, it's only 50 ringgit, it's only 80 ringgit." To me, okay, you know what? I don't mind until when I was there and I realized what I mean is 80 or 50 ringgit per pax for a minimum of four. Usually they miss out that last bit, which I only
Okay.
realized when I was there. So meaning if I want a water taxi, I need to find three more other people to join me. Otherwise, I have to fork out, let's say 50 ringgit. So 5 times 4, 200 ringgit just to go from one jetty to the next. That was too much for me.
Mm.
So yes. So in terms of traveling, transportation, it's better that you come as a group. Hotel now, I wouldn't put this as a con because for me personally, I don't mind staying at a dormitory. It will be a con if you don't want to stay in a dormitory, you want to stay in somewhere, not to say too fancy, but like a proper hotel room.
Right.
Yeah. So usually hotels would allow minimum two, and it's nice to have to split the bill with someone rather than like, paying for the entire room that you may not actually need all that space for.
Mm. Mm.
So of course, and touch wood is that if let's say something happens to you while you're traveling, you're
Yeah.
on your
That's
no one's there to help you.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
That's very true. Mm. But I think when you said what are the cons to solo travel, and a lot of it actually answered my next question, which is it expensive to travel solo? But of course, it depends. Like, for
yeah,
example, you can opt for dormitories instead of hotels. And speaking of hotels, I was reading about solo travel, and sometimes hotels have this surcharge if you're single. I mean, if you're booking the room alone. Have you experienced that before?
no, because usually what I do is
Mm,
okay. First thing first, when I'm on my solo trip, I'm always staying in dormitory, so I wouldn't know
right.
if they have that issue.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is if you do book hotels, most of the time people will book through Agoda or Booking.com.
Right.
And if I'm gonna be sneaky, if they do have that surcharge, why don't you just put two packs there, and then they wouldn't
Mm.
know. Yeah,
Right. That's
yeah.
it. That's the only way to just go
Beat the
go around
system.
it. That's
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah. But I honestly, I have never faced that before.
Right.
In terms of the surcharge.
Okay. Okay. Right. Um. Okay. This question though, I'm not sure. I feel like you have answered this somehow, but I want to just see if you have other um opinions about this. How do you
Hmm.
travel solo but not alone?
How do I travel solo but not alone? Um, how do I? So obviously, when you are flying or traveling there, you'll be alone. Okay.
Yep.
Otherwise, it wouldn't count as a solo travel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're there, as you are slowly get used to the the local uh, people as well as the places there, you get to meet people
Mm-hmm.
and you get to. Okay, so I think I should say that I am an extrovert, so it's
Yes.
easier for me to socialize and meet people.
Yeah, the whole time you were talking about how you were talking with the travelers from dormitories, and I was just like, would I ever do that?
Yeah,
That's so
so
brain talking.
but then again, I can also say that for a person to do solo trips, you would need some levels of extroversion. Otherwise, you
Mm,
wouldn't do it.
yeah.
Um, yes. So you harness that energy and just talk to people. And
Mm,
the thing about meeting people there is that um, so this is part of solo traveling and meeting new
mm-hmm.
people. most times you will forget who they are after the trip. Like some you will stay in contact, but some other times the people would just be a memory. Okay, I remember talking to this person, but I don't remember the name. So
Mm.
I use that like, okay, you know what? Even if I say something embarrassing, or even if I say accent like if I embarrass myself, I was just thinking, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna see this person again, so it's okay. It's just part of the experience. So I use that to talk to people. So that said, when you say so traveling there, will you be alone? And then it's up to you whether you want to meet the local people there. You want to be their friend, or you want to just get to know more about their culture, not necessarily other travelers, but the locals as well. um, do I have that? Yes. So when I was in Myanmar again, the dormitory that I was staying there, the people who are managing it are the locals. So I got to know them. I get to like talk to them. Oh, okay. So what's so special about the city here? Like, what can I do? What can I see? Small talks like that, and eventually,
Mhm.
we end up drinking in the bar. Like, let's have fun. Yes,
Okay. So I want to give a follow-up question to that, which is, um, the solo travel gets lonely sometimes.
it does.
Mm. Okay.
Like, um, of course, we humans, we are social animals. So we obviously would prefer if someone is there, like, sharing the experience with us. While, yes, meeting strangers along the trip is fun, but, you wouldn't know who they are. You don't know them. So they are just caliphs, like, they were passerbys. They are just
Yeah.
passerbys. Okay?
Yep.
You will enjoy the moment with them, but, as a whole, you would also like want someone to enjoy the scenery or the sunset, or trying new food with you. Okay, and also it would be nice, to have someone taking pictures of me or each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
That is
it's
true.
kind of awkward to ask a stranger to take God knows how many selfies like for
Mm.
you.
Yep.
So yeah,
Okay.
um, so that's why I kind of have a mix. I don't always do solo travel.
Mm.
Sometimes I would want to travel with friends.
Mm.
Now, the expectation then changes. So when I'm doing my solo travel, I know that I can take my own time, do things at my own pace. So I don't have to consider um, uh, anyone. I don't have to take into consideration of other people. However, when I want to travel with friends, so my mindset changed a little bit as well. I know that I'm gonna miss out on seeing certain things, or I know that I won't be able to do things at my own pace. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when I solo travel, I usually carry a backpack
Mm.
because I can just put it in the luggage compartment in the airplane, and the moment the airplane lands, I just take my bag and I'll walk out the airport right away. So I will catch the first train or a taxi to the city itself. But when you travel with people like friends, not everyone can travel with a backpack. They will have luggages, and then they'll obviously change those luggages, and you have to wait at the conveyor belt for their luggage to come in. So, in terms of the time spent, like at the airport itself, you can spend up to 1 hour just to
Mm.
wait for everyone to get their things ready and then move on to the city. When I'm
Yeah.
traveling alone, the moment the plane ends, I spend maximum 15 minutes in the airport, and I'm on my way to the city and doing things that I want to see. So yeah, I,
Okay.
mm,
Yeah. I've got a follow-up question to what you mentioned earlier about how when you go to some countries and where English is not the first language, right?
mm.
So Raj has a question. Do you encounter language barriers when traveling to other countries? How do you deal with that, especially in countries where English isn't part of the vocab?
So I would say, and because you're on your own, so it's hard to like you don't have someone to help you with this.
Yeah.
Learn a little bit of the local language.
Mm,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Um, and it's actually a great conversation starter with the locals. Like
Mm.
when I was in Myanmar, I
Mhm.
learned, okay, Burmese is actually very tough. I tried to learn Burmese. I know Mingalaba means hello. Jeju Timpade, that means thank you.
Mm.
So learn those basic words, and then it makes the traveling experience more fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in Thailand, so that I actually know how to order things in Thai. Though I mean, I need to refresh a little bit. So
I remember you learning that.
yeah, you remember me like trying to my best to recognize the Thai characters. I kind of still remember some, but because I haven't been to Thailand for a long time, so
Mm.
I kind of forgot quite a number of it. So when it comes to those language barriers, right? Learn the basics. Learn how to say hello. Learn how to say thank you. Learn how much is something. Like if not mistaken correctly, if not mistaken, how to say how much is this? Tao rai kap in Thai. So and then okay, this is a little bit bad, but you kind of fool the local a little bit, like, oh my god, is he Thai? So and then they won't charge you extortionate amount for the things that you want to buy until it's too late,
Mm.
um, because this is the part of the haggling process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so learn the basic words. Learn how to order things, especially food. You want to impress the waiter or the waitress, like, oh, okay, I want to order this, okay, and then you say it in their language, and they'll be like, oh, okay, oh, this person knows what he she is talking about. But other than that, then when it comes to like, if you want to know more about certain things, that's when the challenge comes in, and you can, because it's a something like it's a crash course. You're not going to digest the entire language system of that culture, so you can just all you can do is just learn the basics and ensure that your time there is slightly more enjoyable when it
Mm.
comes to language barrier.
Right. Okay. I think we can move to the part where, okay, I think this is the first time I've ever done this on the show where I'm actually asking someone to share slides. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I really wanted
Hmm.
Ray to share some of his photos because he's an amazing photographer. So I
Oh.
really wanted everybody to see that. So let me add that to the stream. So basically, Ray, what he's going to do is going to share some of the photos he took when he went on these solo trips.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So I created a little bit, a short PowerPoint slides of all the places that I've been to. So I won't say I'm a professional photographer, but I like taking photos. So this is at Siam Reap. Now this is using what was my I was using an iPad for this, a very old iPad
Wow. Okay.
for these photos, and I really enjoy them. And this kind of have a
It has a very
snowball.
mystical vibe to it, especially the photo on the left.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of create some filter on it. So
Mm.
yeah, this has a snowball effect whereby because I enjoy looking at these photos, I
Hmm.
decided that, okay, maybe I can invest a little bit more in my camera and like take nicer
Right.
photos when I'm on my trips.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is the palette of insects that I was eating. I
Oh,
don't
oh my God, those are insects. I just saw spring rolls and I didn't bother to look at it again. I see spiders now.
Yeah, tarantulas, not spiders.
Right. Okay.
So they're actually crunchy.
Is
Just
there a
imagine
scorpion
them.
as well?
Yeah, that's a scorpion. Just
Oh my God.
imagine them as terrestrial crabs,
Lobsters.
lobsters, because technically they are. If you
They
look
are,
into,
yeah.
yeah, the whole animal kingdom. Yep. So since then, I kind of tried to invest a bit more. So when I was in Jogja, Yogyakarta, for the full name, I use a smartphone because when I was in Cambodia, I didn't have a smartphone. I'm
Okay.
that. Yeah, I'm like that. So this was taken at Timan Beach, east of
Hmm.
Yogyakarta.
Hmm.
And so, see, that's the thing about me. I enjoy going to or going to places with this sort of scenery. And to take this, I have to ride this very sketchy gondola from the mainland to the small little island they have here. And then the water below looks like this. So if you fall, you die. There's no saving. You it's hard to say that you will survive. So yes, then by the time I was in Myanmar, I was using a DSLR, a Nikon DSLR. So I
Mm-hmm.
managed these photos throughout the country, and I really enjoy. I'm so glad that I have photos. I have the proper camera for this, because otherwise, when I look back, it will be on the. I can't zoom in and look at all the smaller details. Okay. Now that said, I just want everyone to know that you don't have to spend a lot on cameras nowadays. A lot of smartphones is good enough, like to take, like if you just get a decent Apple iPhone or Samsung, you can take nice photo like this. The reason why I invest in cameras is because I want to. One day I might want to frame this, so I wanted to like enlarge it. Okay, of course, like the food there is a food. So food is something that if you're a traveler, you really obviously have to try the local food there.
Mm.
And so earlier I forgot about this. When you talk about cons, right? There's so much food in a country. You cannot try everything because you're alone.
Right.
So when you have friends, you can order a lot of things because you can
Mm.
share the. You just want to try a small portion of each of the things, right?
Yes,
So when you
correct.
have a group of friends, I take a quarter of this, a quarter of that, and you take a quarter of this. So we can split the amount of food that we eat.
Mm.
And Malaysia itself. So Malaysia, a lot of people tend to think that there is nothing. I mean, this is a lot of Malaysians forgot that your own backyard has so many beautiful sceneries or
Mm-hmm.
places to visit. And I think that, you know, we should sometimes solo trips can be within the country itself. It
Right.
doesn't have to be overseas, especially when you live in such a when you live in a country like Malaysia, whereby the landscape you have such diverse landscape. You have the cities, you have the mountains, you have the forests, you have this ocean. Yeah. So that's another thing about solo trips that I really find enjoyable
Mm.
because
Can you
I
tell
like.
us where these pictures were taken?
Oh, okay. So this is the first one on the top with the bridge. That's Kuala Terengganu.
Okay.
Next to it, this is Pulau Tioman or Tioman
All
Island.
right.
The
Mm-hmm.
one below on the left, it's also Pulau Tioman, but another part of Pulau Tioman. Pulau Tioman surprisingly is quite big.
Right.
And
Okay.
the 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 following one is one of the hiking trails
Mm.
in Selangor. No, was it Selangor? Nearby in Selangor, yes, correct.
Okay.
So the thing about solo travel is, as a photographer, I can take my time to
Mm.
take these photos because photographers will tell you that sometimes, okay, let's say I'm waiting for the sunset. Okay, this one
Right.
sunset. I'm gonna wait 30 minutes to get the right shot. So, and I feel bad if I'm traveling with someone and I ask them to look at the same scenery for 30 minutes. Or, if I'm trying to photograph an animal or like, wait for the weather, wait for the sun to, wait for the clouds to go away and then the sun shine in place. So there's a lot of waiting. I don't mind the waiting because I want to get a good shot.
Mm.
However, my friends or my travel companion may not have the same sentiment because sometimes if you're not into photos, you just want to take a snapshot or like, oh, I'm here and then be on my way. So
Yep.
that's not me.
Mm.
So yeah, this is another good thing about traveling solo.
Right. Yeah, that is true. The freedom that comes with solo travel is something that you can't really get unless, of course, you go with people who are pretty much like-minded. Maybe you are a
Yeah,
group of photographers, perhaps. Then
yeah,
maybe to a certain extent it can be, properly accommodated.
yeah. It's it's hard sometimes. Even people who have interest in photos, it's hard in the sense that you still don't have you still can't do things at your own pace. Like
Mm.
if I'm bored of the scenery, I want to move on to the next. But this person may not be bored,
Yeah.
they may still want to stay. Unless you're the kind that, okay, you do your own thing, I do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
then we meet again.
Regroup or something.
Yeah,
Yep, yep,
regroup.
yep.
So that's actually what happened in Indonesia
Mm-hmm.
when I was in Yogyakarta. It wasn't supposed to be a solo trip, but one of my travel companion wanted to rest because he's not into all this very adventurous sceneries. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go on my own. So yeah, that's not. So it's good when you have a travel companion who doesn't
Mm.
mind doing things like separately. So which is why Indonesia, that city becomes my solo trip. That's why I say
Okay.
it's point 0.5.
Oh, right, right. Okay, okay. Thank you so much for showing those photos, Ray. I think I've seen some of them because you did share with some photos with us, but yeah, it's nice to see them again. And of
Thank
course, you
you.
can always see all these photos on his photography page on Instagram. I will be
Yes.
tagging him when I share a clip of this video later.
Thanks.
Um, and I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think solo trip has taught you?
Solo trips makes me realize, as much as I like a companion, it
Mm-hmm.
makes me realize that I can enjoy things on my own. So you know how people oftentimes, yeah, I mean, as how what you said earlier in this talk, oh, some people are they find it weird to travel alone or to go to the cinema alone or eat alone. I actually eat and travel. I actually eat and go to the cinema alone sometimes, not all the time. It's because you're so hooked up on wanting to have someone there, you forgot to enjoy the moment on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like you forgot to enjoy your own companionship, like with yourself. Okay, and so it helps me reflect on a lot of things when I do my solo travel because there's no one to talk to or there's no one next to me. So I can like just look at the scenery and think about, okay, so this is what I want, or oh, this is what how I want to travel next time. And it makes me realize what I really want when it comes to travel, or what I really want when it comes to in life in general. It's I don't want to get too deep,
Mm-hmm.
but
But feel
uh,
free.
yes, the self-reflection part is
Mm.
important. And I realize that many times we don't do a lot of self-reflection,
Oh yeah,
or
tell me.
in psychological terms, mindfulness. We don't do
Mm-hmm.
a lot of mindfulness. We often just we are very reactive rather than proactive. So when it comes to traveling on your own, you learn how to be a bit more proactive rather than just react to environmental stimulus or things that's happening in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
you learn to be comfortable with yourself. That not to say you don't need people in your life. I mean, it's good to have people in your life too, but you learn to realize that I can do things on my own.
Yeah.
Like for example, I never knew I can travel alone, or I never knew I can. Uh, so I never knew I can book a hotel room, or I never knew that I know what to request from the receptionist. Like, oh, I want this. So it also helps me build character, like to be more assertive.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny stories to share from your travels? Or not necessarily funny, but anything that was very memorable that you want to share with us?
Um, well, I mean, I have two. One of them is that, as I said, when I was in Langtang, the news came out saying, "Oh, okay, we're going to lockdown." So that was memorable to me because I was seriously contemplating would I be comfortable camping on the beach because I can't afford the resort there for like a few months. So
Yeah.
I was literally considering um, how will I do my work virtually on a very isolated island. That's one of it. Uh, the next one would be when I was in Myanmar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think one of the memories that I can pluck is it's it's not it's funny now that I think about it, but it was a bit scary when it happened to me. I was in Bagan. So Bagan, if you know the roads there, they don't really have proper roads, so it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of dirt roads. And
Okay.
then they offer you this moto vehicle, moto
Mm-hmm.
scooter. I won't say it's a motorbike, but it's like a moto scooter that you can travel from one temple to the next. The place is very big. Um, and there was one time that I want to catch the sunrise at one of the temples. So I took one of these motorized scooter and went there. A little bit I know I because I can't really see a lot of things because it was too dark. I kind of got stuck in a sand dune, or this is a very sandy area, and I can't find the pavement, like the a rocky surface to continue the travel. And I
Right.
was I got scared a little bit because I'm in the middle of nowhere. It was dark. I was alone, and then I kind of just keep pushing the scooter until I find the road again, and then just okay, I'm just gonna drive very slowly to my destination. So that was
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it was funny when it happened. When now that I think about it, but it was
That must
kind
have
of
been so scary. I mean, like, imagine getting your motorbike stuck in the middle of nowhere and you can't even travel anywhere.
yeah, and with a scooter, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to get to the destination. But if I
Mm-hmm.
walk, it's like 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wasn't ready to walk that distance back to the hotel, and plus, again, like I said,
Was
it's
it on the way or on your way back?
on the way there. I
Okay.
mean, because obviously I cannot proceed forward if I am stuck, so I have to
Mm.
turn back.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, that is
I
true.
was, I was a little bit afraid of that, and
Okay.
yeah, and yeah, because if you were in Bagan, you know that there's no proper roads and there's a lot of bush.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was also another time when I was riding a bike and I went to someone's farm instead, and I couldn't get out because there was like a
Okay.
lot of mud, so I have to carry the whole thing like to back to the main road, so just so I can be on my way.
Okay. That was okay, right. Um, Earlier you shared with us the process of
Hmm.
figuring out how and where you want to go for solo travel. So I
Yeah.
think what would be my last question for tonight would be, can you share with us some tips and tricks for a successful, enjoyable solo trip?
Okay. So first thing first, know your budget. You obviously want to travel. I mean, let's say you want to go everywhere. Know your budget. How much can you spend in the city or in the country when you travel there? Like, can you can you splurge a little bit? Because sometimes, even though I stay in a dormitory, I 1 or 2 nights I might want to stay in the proper hotel just to, especially like before I fly back, just to you know how we need a vacation for our vacation.
Right. Okay.
So just
Purely
so
to rest and recharge.
yes, and you want to stay in a proper hotel with a swimming pool. You want to
Mm-hmm.
like a good, a slightly better service from the staff. So that's one thing that you need to consider. Unless you don't mind that, then you can just do it all in the dormitory. So yeah, know your budget, okay, and don't compare yourself with other people when it comes to solo travels because uh, their budget is different from you. Obviously, you can only do certain things, or rather, you want to manage your funds to do more of the things that you like. And on sometimes on my trips, because I know I'm not going to be in a hotel or in my accommodation a lot, so which is
Mm-hmm.
why I rather don't mind spending a very very budgeted hotel and
Mm-hmm.
just spend more on the things that I want to see or places I want to go. Okay,
Right.
and while it's fun to just be impromptu and go there and just look around, like just explore the city without doing prior research, it is important that you do some research. Okay, I'm not saying you have to list down from A to Z the places that you have to go. This is the time that you must be there. Um, because it can ruin the trip in the sense that, oh, I can't follow the schedule, my whole trip is ruined. Rather, what I will do is I list down the places that I want to go. Okay, usually more. I know that it's more than I can actually visit
Mm-hmm.
to the time span. So I put the places that I really want to see on top of the list, so that I will make sure I go there first.
Mm.
Okay, and the other things, while it would be nice to see them, you don't really have to see them.
Right.
And doing this sort of research can, give you like, it helps you realize, okay, oh, such thing exists over there. Okay, it can be a cafe as well. Like, oh, I want to visit this cafe that serves this very unique cuisine, and if I didn't do my research, I wouldn't have missed it. Okay, and what is the chance of me traveling back to the same place? Because
Mm.
for me, usually I will want to try another city when I travel rather than going back to the same place.
Right.
So this sort of things you need to consider. Okay, then you have a more enjoyable trip.
Mm.
Finally, I guess ask yourself, why are you doing this solo trip in the first place?
Mm.
Yeah. For me, I like traveling. I like seeing all these things. So I want to do these things without interference from somebody else. Like, I want to take my time. I want to see the things I want to see without having people telling me, "Oh, okay, we gotta go to the next place."
Right.
Yeah. So if if you're the kind that you really don't mind going to a city, to a new place and just wing it, just be a bit impromptu, that's fine as well. You don't have to do all this prior research. So I suppose I should put that at the start. What what do you want to do for the solo trip? Do you really
Mm.
just want to go to a completely new country, completely new place, and just experience, rather than have a list of itinerary that you want to fulfill?
Mm.
Mm.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much, Ray. I think with that we can wrap the session. Thank you so much for spending the evening with me. I mean, it was very, very insightful because I don't think some of this I've even asked you. So I'm glad I get to ask you through this show.
You got me
So yeah. So thank you
So
so much.
yes,
And thank you. Oh,
do you
yeah,
still
sorry.
want to do a solo trip? Sorry.
Yes, I do. That's definitely in my bucket list. It's just that I haven't
Have
actually
the time.
planned for it. Yeah. And yes, the time. Yeah,
Yes, time is important as well. Oh,
that
so
is true.
usually I do my solo trips on non-peak seasons,
Mm-hmm.
just so I can avoid the people, the crowd.
Yeah. Plus,
Yeah,
another question would be what would be the ideal duration? 3 days, a week?
depending on where you're going. So
Mm,
Siam Reap itself, I think 4 days, 3 nights, or like that city alone. Not talking about the whole country.
right.
4 days, 3 nights is good enough. If let's say you want to go, okay, so I want to visit Italy one day, and Italy have so many places:
Yeah.
Rome, Venice, um, where they film "Call Me by Your Name." I can't remember that stretch of coast. But yeah, I would say that even a month is not enough.
Mm,
So it
yeah.
depends on what you want to do and what do you want to see.
True, true. Yeah, I think I will start with somewhere local first. I think Langkawi will be at the top of my list because
Oh,
I'd like to
Sabah.
go somewhere,
Sabah.
yeah, Sabah as well. But then again, the budget.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about traveling local is that it's like we are using local currency, so
Mm,
you obviously you can manage it slightly better than traveling overseas, especially if the country has a stronger currency than us.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. But for sure, I really hope I get to do it by the end of this year. Hopefully.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, maybe since I do have this thing of spending New Year's Eve somewhere, so maybe this is
Mm.
New Year's Eve will be a solo trip.
Yeah, but then you have to consider that there are other
It's
people.
a peak. Yeah, it's a peak.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. Okay, then never mind. I will update you, and I
Sure.
will definitely run my plan by you to see if everything's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I am by means no expert. I just enjoy doing these things.
yeah. I mean, I guess as long as you have experience of going to a couple of places, it's good enough for me because like I'm a novice. Like I'm a zero experience here. Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
Okay.
I'm happy to shed some light when you need it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you for tonight.
Welcome.
Right. So thank you so much for those of you who have been watching. right until this moment. It's been an hour, 5 seconds left. Okay, so if you do want to catch up on the previous episode, all the episodes are on Beginner Resources YouTube channel and also on Spotify. Thank you, good night, and have a good weekend.
Good night.
Good night.
Vijaya.